Alrighty, today is July the 12th. It's a Wednesday, 2023. We are near the town of Shanksville, Pennsylvania in Somerset County. We are visiting the Flight 93 National Memorial. What you're looking at right here is part of the memorial. It's called the Tower of Voices. And let me just kind of scan down here. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll just read the first part. It says, it's a monumental 93-foot tall musical instrument. The Tower of Voices marks the gateway to and from this expansive living memorial landscape. 40 chimes represent the voices of the 40 courageous passengers and crew members who took a vote to come together and fight terrorism on the morning of September 11th, 2001. The music of the chimes is a living tribute to these 40 men and women, many whose last messages to loved ones were through telephone calls and recorded voice messages. It's not a it's not a windy day today, so we don't really hear the chimes going, but down at the base of the monument they had a thing you can scan so you can listen to what the chimes sound like on a windy day. It's pretty. Very calm, very peaceful here. Took a few steps forward to see what they look like. It says the winds have to be going up to about 15 miles per hour, at least, for them to chime, but they're not doing that, of course, today. Here is the plaza at 9/11, the Flight 93 National Memorial. I just had a chance to walk through and read some of the placards and posters and information things. I think I'm going to go back over real quick and just film them. Panel number 1 shows the beginning of the horror that people in the local area felt when the plane went down. Through the investigation, it was learned that the plane did take off from Newark, New Jersey, was hijacked probably near the Ohio-Pennsylvania border, and by this time the crew and the passengers are finding out that they are part of a much larger attack and decide to take action. When the plane does go down, it's only about 20 minutes flying time from Washington, D.C., and the intended target was most likely the U.S. Capitol building. Back in the early 2000s, airplanes had phones in the middle seat that you could put a credit card in and make a call if you wanted to. During the hijacking, some of the passengers and crew did make calls, did find out what was going on the ground, and knew that there was a very, very good chance that they weren't going to make it, and they decided to take action. Here are the photographs of the 40 passengers and crew. Just kind of a great look of America right there. There were a couple of people who were foreign, I believe, but overall, just a cross-section of what the American population is like and the people who came together to take action. In my study of this and watching films about it, these are the 4 gentlemen who seem to have taken the most action. Todd Beamer, that you see right there, Mark Bingham, right there, Tom Burnett, and Jeremy Glick, this gentleman right here. I'm not saying that the others didn't take action too, but just from what I've seen, those 4 kind of led the action in trying to do something about the hijackers and possibly take back the plane. Here is a photo of the crash site. It made a large crater in the ground. Quite honestly, there just wasn't very much left. It crashed at over 500 miles an hour. I believe it crashed upside down as they were fighting over control of the plane. It was just crazy. They did not find the remains of a lot of people just because of the horrific impact of the crash. I continued a little bit further into the plaza. Looking up there is the visitor center, which we will be taking a look at a little later today. But as I pan over, you can see here that they have a spot for people to gather. There's a spot to lay wreaths and memorial. And there is a walk to go along out to the crash site. There is a feeling of peace here, but also a feeling of sadness. The large white wall up ahead there is called the Wall of Names, and it also is supposed to follow basically what the flight path would have been as the plane was coming down. And if you pan over just a little bit right here, that area out by that large stone, and you can still see the scars in the trees, is where the plane did actually go down. It is considered the resting spot for the passengers and crew. Alright, I'm getting closer to the Wall of Names, just kind of reflecting on some things from that day. The Wall of Names again does represent, or where it is located represents where the flight path was. And then as you go along through here, it does end where the crash site is, down by that boulder. That boulder was taken from up by where the tower, or the wind chime monument was at that we saw, the voice monument we saw earlier. Again, the plane was going at over 500 miles an hour, and I believe it was also upside down at the time. By the time it crashed, there was so much confusion going on. Just a horrific thing to think about. Alright, here at the Wall of Names, it's a very interesting artistic thing. From a distance, the whole wall looks completely united, but when you're up close, you can see that the names with the 40 panels with the names on it is actually detached from the rest of the wall. And it said it's done this way to try to represent unity, that the 40 different people from all over came together and took action. Okay, walking a little closer to the Wall of Names. They are done in alphabetical order, by the way. When you come down to this spot right over here, this gate is made out of hemlock trees, which is the type of trees that were damaged down at the crash site. Sorry, that's a little blurry. I'll back out. That didn't film very well, but it's okay. Alright, I stood back a little bit. Sorry about how blurry that last little bit was. But standing back here, you kind of get a view of the plaza and the walkway. We are going to head up to the visitor center now. Alright, I'm wrapping up my visit to the Flight 93 National Memorial. I didn't really take any video inside the visitor center there. And behind that large wall is the visitor center, by the way. It was very tastefully done, but you cannot do photography inside. So I just kept my phone in my pocket and went through, and it was a really, truly interesting visit. They've done it with class, with dignity, and there's a very good positive feeling here.